All right, so qualifying went pretty well. Set another PB, 157.221. I was second fastest in the session, but the guy that was fastest is only entered for one race, the amateur Supersport middleweight later this afternoon. So for the amateur formula middleweight, I'm going to be starting on pole position. So really excited to see how this race goes. I'm hoping that I can get down to a 56, maybe a high 56. I've got a fresh SC1 Pirelli rear that I just put on. The front tire that I have, I changed it yesterday. It was a takeoff, but now it's only got about 20 laps on it or so, so it should be good for another 12 to 2 races. The takeoff that I was running yesterday, I think ended up having about 80 laps when I took it off, and it was still working. So now it's time to head to the riders meeting. All right, let's go get ready to race. race 1, P1. Feels good. And smashed my goal getting into the 56s. Did a 155.736 on the last lap. Whew, that was a good race. Blew the start. The grid guy that usually would tell you to put your shield down before they start throwing the cards and the flag directed my friend Josh off the grid because his bike died pulling up to the starting line. So all eyes were on him, and when I looked back, my engine was off and first card was up. So I was like, start the engine, put it in gear, and then the flags were going before I knew it. Big old wheelie off the line, got it back down, but unfortunately ended up going into turn 1 in third. Made a little bit more work for myself than I was hoping for, but that's all good. I think it was on lap 2, I took back second place, and then on lap 3, took back first. And then the pressure of being in the front, I just kept going. And then on lap 5, Kevin, great attempt at a pass. That was a really good spot to try to make a move. Into turn 11 off the back straight. But I saw him out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, I'm just gonna let go of my brake lever and kind of coast. And blocked him going into 12. And at that point, I was like, all right, this has to be the fastest lap I can do here. And just put my head down and carried as much speed as I could, braking as late as possible, going everywhere later than I was even a little comfortable with, and put in that 55.736. So feels great. Feeling a little tired, but up for another race here. We got another guy that's racing with us who actually qualified P1 in amateur middleweight, who did not race this race. He's only running the Supersport races, my understanding. So he's gonna be out there too. Should be interesting if I can get out front with him. Maybe we'll see some low 55s or even 54s, but I'm super pumped. I need to eat a snack and rest up. I think we've got another 3 races that are out now, 3 or 4 before my next one. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to rest. Got out of the leathers already, and see what we can do. just like that, another race weekend in the books, along with some new hardware. So that feels pretty good. And I gotta say, coming into CVMA after not being at Chuckwalla for nearly a year and being mid-rear field last time around, I wasn't really sure where I was going to land this time around. And I'm super, super, super proud of myself for being able to step up, win a race, especially after coming under fire on the penultimate lap, crushing my goal for a new PB, and setting the fastest lap of that race. So race 2, start was a little bit better, still not great. And unfortunately, I was just tired and out of steam. This was a really long day. So just to give you a little bit of background, I've been racing with the California Road Race Association for the majority of this year, and they do things a little bit differently. They don't do double headers for races like CVMA does, but the races that they do run are a little bit longer. They're typically 8 laps. CVMA races are 6 laps, but CVMA does, for the most part, there are a few exceptions, but a lot of classes on Saturday and then again on Sunday. So I just went out for the Saturday, and it was kind of like a condensed CRA weekend minus a couple laps. I had practice, qualifying, and 2 races all in one day, whereas with CRA I would ordinarily have a practice session in the morning and then qualifying, those 2 things on Saturday, and then 1 practice session and 1 or 2 races on Sunday. So this was a lot. And it happened very quickly, and I had to change my rear tire in between qualifying and the first race. So it was just a really jam-packed day, but I think I made the most of it. So again, the first race went really well. There were definitely some mistakes there, especially in that last lap where I was turning in a little bit too late, running a little bit wide, but I was able to carry a lot of momentum around the track, and I actually ended up opening the gap to second place by 2.1 seconds coming across the line. So that felt really good to just be able to fire away on that last lap and really make it count. It feels like a hard-earned win. The second race, I was about out of steam halfway through it. Getting back past Jackson to reclaim P2 was a little bit more challenging than I was hoping it would be. And ultimately, that just kind of wore me out. And then also trying to chase down Dennis, despite him being so far ahead of me. Now again, Dennis did not enter the amateur Formula middleweight race. He only entered the amateur Supersport middleweight race, so didn't partake in that first race. Although I think he did have one more race later on in the day. But nevertheless, Dennis just got back in the lead very quickly after starting from P1 and getting past going into turn 1 and turn 2, and he just took off. And by the time I was able to get back past Jackson, he was so far ahead of me that I was really just trying to reel him in based on my own lines. And he is a lot faster than I am. So I was really hoping that I would at least get an opportunity to get kind of close to him or be close to him at some point so that I could pick up on his lines and hopefully learn a little bit. But that said, just didn't happen. After trying my hardest to chase him down for a couple laps, I was about out of steam and just realized I had given it everything I had. My body was fatigued. My muscles were starting to cramp a little bit. So just wanted to bring it across the line in P2, not lose any positions, and started making some mistakes. Did my best to pick it back up and then just take defensive lines, trying to be in the middle of the track and just as wide as possible for the rest of the race. And ultimately, it paid off. I came across the line in second place by a fraction of a second, but nevertheless, it's P2, and I think that demonstrated some good racecraft. So proud of that as well. So now that we've debriefed on the races, I want to take a moment to dedicate this video to my friend Josh Martin, who was in the pits with me during this weekend and was a fantastic friend who tragically passed away in a motorcycle accident in the Angeles National Forest just 1 week after this race weekend. I met Josh just as we were both getting started racing. It was at my second ever race weekend with CRA in August of 2021, Buttonwillow, configuration 26 counterclockwise. And I'm really lucky that I met Josh because I've got a lot of great memories hanging out with him in the pits. Lots of funny jokes that I can't remember, but just a lot of laughter and smiles. And he was seriously one of the kindest people I've ever met. He'd give anybody in the paddock the shirt off of his back. He was truly a friend to all, cooked food for everybody that wanted to come in and enjoy, and really made me feel at home every time I showed up to the track. Specifically on this last race weekend together, I showed up to Chuckwalla on Thursday night at almost midnight. It was cold, and Josh just kept me company the whole time I unloaded and got set up. He really tried to help, and he did end up helping with a couple things like setting up my easy up, but I really didn't want him to because I didn't want to make him go out of his way to do anything. But he really was a great friend and somebody that really had a positive impact on everybody that he met. I ate so much good food, laughed so much, enjoyed a lot of great time at the track with Josh, and I already miss him and know things aren't going to be the same without him. So thanks, Josh, so much for all of the great memories, all of the hospitality and good times. I'm going to think about you every time I throw a leg over a motorcycle, whether it's to go out to grid up to race or just to go ride down the street. But thanks so much for the memories, man. May you ride in peace. And with that, thanks so much for watching, and I'll hope to catch you in the next one. Until then, later.